Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Once Again Get Out the Vote for Bernie live stream. First of all, thank you for taking the time to join this call tonight. It's been a while since we've had some kind of organizing call for Bernie, but we are once again getting out the vote for Bernie for the rest of the 2020 presidential primary. My name is Lakshmi Gopal, and I was a former member of the national organizing team on the Bernie 2020 campaign, focusing on distributed canvassing. And I'm currently organizing with the Once Again PAC to get out the vote for Bernie. We will be introducing my co-host shortly, but let's start off tonight's agenda. Tonight on this call, we'll be joined by former Bernie 2020 National Organizing Director Claire Sandberg. Then we'll go over the 2020 primary organizing strategy, specifically on why you should still vote for Bernie, the importance of delegates and earning 25% of them, and our platform demands. Then we'll tell you how you can get involved with organizing for Bernie once again. All right, now we're going to introduce former Bernie 2020 National Organizing Director Claire Sandberg to help kick us off.
Thanks, Lakshmi, and thanks everybody for joining. Really excited to be with you. And yeah, there's a lot on the line, although many people are now focused on what comes next in terms of organizing, in terms of mutual aid, solidarity organizing. We are very excited to be doing this Once Again project with all of you because there's actually a lot on the line with all of the remaining primaries. It's extremely important, as you're going to hear on this webinar, that we get to 25% of the remaining delegates, 25% overall, actually, excuse me, in the Democratic primary in order to have a say in some important decisions that are going to be made at the convention. And on top of that, we also want to make sure that we are getting out the vote for all of the important down ballot candidates who are running in the remaining primaries. And we've seen, and I think we'll hear more about this, that it's so important for people who support Bernie Sanders to vote that we've even had the establishment in some states try to actually shut down the primaries. So it's very important that we spread the word that actually it is still possible to vote for Bernie, and that's why we are once again asking you to tell all of your friends that the primaries are still happening even though Bernie has suspended his campaign, and that it's very important for people to vote. And so Lakshmi and Lynn are going to walk you through on this call all of the reasons why, so you can tell people you know why it's important to still vote for Bernie by mail. And then all the ways that you can do that and the ways that we're going to organize together to spread the word.
Great. Thank you so much, Claire, for joining us and just connecting the dots as to why we're continuing to do work around getting out the vote for Bernie and just continuing this movement in general. So thank you. All right. So what is the Once Again PAC and why are we once again organizing for Bernie? So we are a temporary organizing effort to win some additional delegates for Bernie to uplift progressive platforms through key standing committees in the House and Senate. So in the midst of a pandemic that is causing enormous human suffering due to systemic injustice, the political programs long championed by Bernie Sanders are more needed than ever. We can and we must carry on this fight. So as mentioned, we are organizing votes for Bernie in the upcoming primary elections to gain more delegates. Our goal is not to divide the vote or try to get Bernie to win the primary. We're here to organize delegates because we trust and support Bernie's platform, and we want Biden to adapt to them by placing our delegates on the rules and platform committees. So now I'm going to pass it over to my co-host to introduce herself and break down why delegates matter.
Thanks, Lakshmi. Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn Hua, and I am the National Once Again PAC organizer and the former out-of-state program director at Bernie 2020. It's been a long Bernie journey since 2016, but here we are. Really glad to be on this call with everyone listening in. Now let's talk about why you should still vote for Bernie if your state hasn't already. Bernie always said, not me, us. right? And now that it's been made clear that the movement will have to continue on without him, it's time for the rest of us to step in and keep fighting to continue leveraging important plans like enacting a Green New Deal, providing Medicare for all, eliminating student debt, and an end to for-profit wars. We will continue organizing efforts beyond the campaign in the next short 6 weeks to get out the vote for Bernie in these upcoming states. Our intentions are not to split the ticket nor make Bernie the Democratic nominee. Our goal is to reach at least 25% of the delegates who will in turn integrate our progressive platform on key standing committees that will hopefully one day soon transform the Democratic Party. Having the right person in the White House would have made achieving our goals much easier, but we have to remember that there exist multiple facets in government that give us an opportunity to attain these goals in the absence of one dependable leader in office. Within these next 6 weeks, we are going to resume the electoral organizing work from the campaign, albeit without a budget or advanced organizing tools, to continue getting out the vote for Bernie in the remaining primary states to hit that 25% mark. Unlike the general election in November, we've got to absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain at this point by continuing to vote for Bernie through the primary election these next couple of weeks. Biden may become the presumptive Democratic nominee, and if he is, encouraging unity all the while gathering more delegates for Bernie through the primary will allow us to not only beat Trump, but also steer towards integrating our progressive platform into the Democratic Party. Now, the importance of delegates and earning 25% of them. If Bernie's delegate count makes it to 25% with 1,200 delegates, we will have 25% more progressive voting blocs and key standing committees who will work to uphold accountability and spearhead platforms like the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, student debt cancellation, and the end to wars. Standing committees are permanent legislative panels in both the House and the Senate and House of Representatives who usually consider bills and issues and recommend measures for consideration by their respective chambers. They also oversee policies, programs, and activities within their jurisdictions. Delegates are essential because they have legislative jurisdiction. Standing committees consider bills and issues and recommend measures for consideration by their respective chambers. Two of the most important standing committees we want to have influence in through our 25% of delegates are the Rules Committee and the Platform Committee. We need members on the Rules Committee to keep anything enacted within the past few years in an effort to better reform our corrupt political system. And for instance, on August 25th, 2018, the Democratic National Committee agreed to reduce the influence of superdelegates by preventing them from voting on the first ballot at the Democratic National Convention. I want to make a clear distinction here between superdelegates and the delegates we're trying to gather. Superdelegates are seated automatically and choose for themselves who they vote for, despite what the popular vote is. They have far too often disregarded the choice of the people and have diminished our chances of achieving a real democracy. The delegates on the Platform Committee help determine the platforms that Democratic candidates need to support in order to run. Every 4 years, the Democratic Party puts together our party platform, and this is where we have the power as a movement bestowed by our delegates to integrate our progressive platforms into the Democratic Party. Now I'll pass it back over to Lakshmi to go into our very first platform, which is Medicare for All.
Thanks, Lynn. So the first platform we need is Medicare for all. We need to heavily reform the healthcare industry, profiting off of the sick or hurt, because it's a human right and everyone deserves the dignity of seeking healthcare when they need it. Let's be clear. We were facing a catastrophic healthcare crisis before the COVID-19 pandemic. And now that the crisis has become much, much worse, we really have to invest in this. Already, 87 million people are uninsured or underinsured. Layoffs will mean tens of millions of people more will lose their current insurance, which will result in countless deaths and bankruptcies. And as the pandemic grows, we are seeing more and more reports of people having delayed treatment due to concerns about cost. In this pandemic, uninsurance will lead to deaths and more COVID-19 transmissions. So as Bernie said, it is a disgrace that we are the only major country on this earth that does not provide healthcare for our people, and we must do better.
That's right. Now, the second platform that we want to enact is the Green New Deal. We need new pathways to a new energy source and economy. We need more workers' protection rights. We need to realize that global climate change is an immediate emergency, and we should act as such. We are witnessing millions of people lose their health insurance and jobs due to COVID-19 because there is no single-payer healthcare system and no safety nets for working Americans. A Green New Deal will radically transform not only our economy or the planet, but the lives of working-class people and various communities suffering from the direct impacts of environmental racism and other devastations. We have the ability to accelerate a just transition that puts millions of people to work in good-paying union jobs and trade schools, ensures that energy systems operate under public democratic control as it should, and that we are evolving into a sustainable economy that truly works for everyone.
Yep, so important, Lynn, thank you. Thirdly, student debt cancellation. So as generations of future Americans are trapped by a $1.7 trillion debt sentence, during this pandemic, it is imperative that we cancel all student loan payments for the duration of the crisis. And more than that, more than 5 million Americans struggle with 1.6 trillion in student debt. We must lift this burden and cancel student debt payments for the duration of this crisis. And long term, we must cancel all student debt and make public colleges, universities, and trade schools tuition free and debt free. We want an educated population that has the ability to achieve social mobility and a brighter future with their hard work. But that's not possible when there are so many who cannot afford to go to school, thereby widening the racial wealth gap that existed in this country for far too long.
And lastly, but not least, it's imperative that we work to end for-profit wars and break the American imperialist hegemony control that has created political instabilities in various countries all over the world, exploiting their natural resources and willing to kill for profit. The United States has been engaged in conflict for the past 20 years. And we know that when they say that we fight in these wars in the name of, quote, democracy and, quote, freedom, we know in actuality they're meant for filling the pockets of corrupt people in power and traumatizes not only the people in countries conflict exists in, but also our own veterans when they return home from all of this conflict. The military-industrial complex may have assisted in the development of our country's economy in the early 20th century, but we will dismantle it because it has no place in our present or our future. Now that we've put things into perspective, both of these committees, both the Rules Committee and Platform Committee, will allow us to further reprioritize the Democratic Party's focus to the voice of working class people. As mentioned, we've got absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain by continuing to vote for Bernie through the primary if we're able to garner more delegates that will hold accountability and for the platform in these key standing committees and in down ballot offices. In terms of potential deaths and impacts on our economy, the crisis of coronavirus is on a major scale, almost on a scale of war. And we must act accordingly by enacting Medicare for all, a Green New Deal, student debt cancellation, and an end to war are refocused our energy on working class Americans. We must begin thinking on a scale comparable to the threat and make sure that we are protecting working people, low-income people, and the most vulnerable communities, not just giant corporations and Wall Street. We are doing this because everything was on the line in this election, and we're not letting our organizing efforts go to waste so easily. We can no longer afford to live the way things are going. And we want to make it clear that our intentions are not to split the ticket, nor are they to serve as an effort to make Bernie the Democratic nominee. We're here to organize delegates because we trust and support Bernie's platform, and we want to uplift these issues through delegates on key standing committees. Although our efforts may be marginal, they'll still matter. If you believe in a Green New Deal, Medicare for all, student debt cancellation, and an effort to end for-profit warmongering, be sure to vote for Bernie and organize your networks. Remind them to vote for Bernie by mail, and recruit volunteers to help us make this happen. All right, now let's discuss how you can join us in organizing for Bernie. Again, Lakshmi, why won't you take it from here?
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. All such important information, lots of details, appreciate it. So how do you get involved? Once again, so if you live in any of the following states showed on the screen, you can still vote by mail for Bernie. So remember to vote for Bernie if you live in these remaining states. You can visit ONCEAGAIN.INFO/vote to access our state voter guide for more information. Now, whether you live in a state that has already voted or has a primary coming up, we need your help volunteering.
Yes, we do. As mentioned earlier, we are entirely operating on no budget or data or fancy digital tools like a dialer from the campaign. Just to put some things into a level of perspective and some level of expectation for you, we are going to be one of the scrappiest get out the vote programs that have ever existed. So we are resorting to traditional organizing tactics that are entirely dependent on the networking of its volunteers to reach out to your own personal circles of Bernie supporters, let them know that they can still vote for Bernie on the ballot. Going back to our roots, grassroots. These volunteers asks will include relational organizing, hosting virtual Bernie ballot parties, and organizing creatively on social media. Lakshmi is going to go over relational organizing now.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn. So relational organizing, we're asking you all to come together with coworkers, friends, neighbors, anyone you know to make a plan to directly talk to your community about voting for Bernie in the upcoming primaries. So that involves mapping your personal network. It's going to be that first step towards reaching thousands of voters and winning the political revolution. So by making a concrete plan to reach out to your personal and social networks, you're going to be able to make a tangible difference in the upcoming elections. So for these upcoming primary elections, we're not going to have that fancy burn app that we had for the Bernie 2020 campaign. So how are we actually going to do this? Again, like Lynn said, back to our roots, grassroots, relational phone banking, and personal outreach through your social media networks and various communication platforms, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Instagram, Twitter, anything that you use to talk to other people is how we're going to get out the vote for Bernie.
Great. Next, if you currently live in a state with an upcoming primary, we encourage you to host your very own Bernie ballot party where everyone hops on to learn about voting rules in their state and fill out your mail-in ballots together. This can be virtually done through Zoom or Google Hangout or any other video platform. We'll help you recruit fellow Bernie supporters in your state, give you the training you need, a host script, and other resources. So be as creative as you'd like with these virtual Bernie ballot parties. You can even throw a virtual costume party and have everyone fill out a ballot, a rave, a game night, a happy hour, and have everyone fill out your ballots together. The only invite requirement is that you are intending to vote for Bernie. So think big, have fun, be creative. We have lots of primaries coming up on June 2nd specifically, so we're going to need help hosting some Bernie ballot parties the last week of May in each of those June 2nd seats. So remember to sign up to volunteer.
Yeah. And another component of our volunteer efforts are going to be social media organizing. So one of the best ways to organize in the digital age is through social media. So we're assembling what we're calling a social media brigade that can help us get the word out there for live streams like this one, platform issues, and Bernie being on the ballot. So just giving people the information that they need in order to get out and vote for Bernie. And to become a part of this brigade, you're going to just join our social media channel. We're going to have a volunteer Slack where hopefully all of you can get integrated into and dispersed into your volunteer channels. And we're going to be doing announcements on social media postings. We'll want you to utilize your own creativity to let everyone know that Bernie is still on the ballot in their state, as well as the 4 main platforms we are heightening. So again, those are the Green New Deal, Medicare for All, student debt cancellation, and end to for-profit war.
Woo! And that's it. Those are all the volunteer tasks that we have. All right, so we are now at the end of our call. Thank you, Lakshmi. Thank you, Claire. We know so many folks felt or still feel very disheartened by the suspension of Bernie's campaign, but our collective work and purpose is interconnected and lives beyond the campaign. The changes that we hope to see will happen if we all collectively work together to make this happen. We have seen this through and remember that there are multiple facets of reform that give us an opportunity to attain these goals. We are a movement of many, and it's important for us to continue building power together by any means, both internally and externally, from the bottom up, with us and all the other organizations and candidates determined to bring about Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, student debt cancellation, and an end to for-profit wars. It was never about Bernie. He was a messenger who resonated with working class people, tired of seeing the same thing over and over again, and passed the torch over to us to continue leading the fight, because it was always going to be a steep uphill fight, and it was going to take a long time. We only have a few short weeks to make this ambitious goal happen. Join us by signing up on our volunteer page at onceagain.info/volunteer, as you see on the screen, and let's work together for Bernie once again. We are once again getting out the vote for Bernie. Together, we are truly building the future to believe in. The political revolution is real and happening right before our eyes, and although it's not happening as quickly as we'd like it to, it's nonetheless made possible, all thanks to everyone streaming right now. Again, you can sign up to volunteer right after this live stream by heading to onceagain.info/volunteer, or you can visit onceagainpac.com and click volunteer in the upper right-hand corner. And with that, thank you so much for attending this national call with us tonight, everyone. Let's do all that we can to keep the political revolution going. Good night. We hope to see you soon in the organizing Slack. We've got a lot of work to do in the next 6 weeks, but let's help Bernie win 25% of the delegates. Woo! Not me, us.
Yes, not me, us. Thank you, everyone. Good night.